Hello, everyone.
No, Mike, no, you can't. You gotta let me.
No, you can catch that one up in 1 second. Don't worry. See, folks, we're doing multiple cams as we speak. I'm with the Sharp Way right now, so on Larry Sharp's channel on YouTube, you're going to be able to see this conversation, as well as being able to see it here on No Soundbites Allowed. And right now, I've pissed off my buddy Craig because he said, "Yeah, okay, we're good." And now he moved his
I
camera.
didn't say we were good.
I thought you said that. Okay, my fault. So now I'm filling a little space while he's getting the second cameras because he's good. Okay, now we're good. So, folks, don't worry. And I know if the volume's a little bit off on No Soundbites Allowed, just go over to Larry Sharp's channel, which is Larry Sharp with an E, as you can see, and go on there and you'll be able to hear the audio even better. Or see it twice. We want it. Now, I have with me today P.T. Burton, who is running for the Arizona 1st District. It's a congressional race, and, well, there's a couple of special things about that. But before we get to the congressional race, and I love having first-time candidates on with my audience to find out who you are and why they should be interested in the politics that changes their life. But before I do, let me first ask the question. Your actual name is Paul T. Burton.
Yeah.
I know you prefer PT, and you're known by PT.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about you're a business owner? You've got a business for over 12 years now. It's very interesting. So go ahead.
Well, no, I've got a couple different businesses. I've actually built 3 businesses over the time. But I'll give you kind of who I am in a synopsis. This will be a fun little synopsis.
Sure.
And as we spoke previously, I kind of got this one down pat. I grew up in the short north of Columbus, Ohio. Basically grew up in the hood. By the time I was, drug addicts, alcoholics in the family, mom married 6 times to 5 different men. So, yeah, she married the worst one twice.
Okay.
By the time I was in my latter teens, I was homeless. And I ended up robbing a guy, went to prison. I did almost 10 years. And, this was way back in the day when prison was still prison. You could get a college degree. So now God smacked me with an iron skillet hard enough. I started to listen. When I got out, I had a college degree. I built my first business from the ground up, working 2 other jobs. And since then, I've employed over 400 people. I've owned 2 marketing companies. One that was strictly business to business. When I sold that, I had an 8-year non-compete, and so I fell into construction for a while and built restaurants coast to coast. And then I started seeing what was going on in the landscape, and it kind of dawned on me as a business owner for years that, wow, I kind of gave up my vote with my youthful decisions. But what can I do there? And I said, okay, well, let's do what I did with my marketing, my businesses and stuff like that. I've always found market gaps and go, okay, I don't have my one. Let's see how many other votes I can get, and really affect the community. And I know I have a little bit of a compelling story. I've gotten out. I've done good. I've employed people. I've gone back into prisons and done prison ministry for many years, Kairos Prison Ministries specifically. And now this is my opportunity to not just give back, but to show that redemption is real. And America is a very forgiving country. When we make mistakes, the people of America forgive those mistakes.
As long as you're genuine
Yes.
with that redemption.
Exactly.
And I find it interesting because yesterday we actually interviewed Patrick Acuna, who is part of Straight from the Pen, which is a short film here at the Anthem Film Festival, talking about another man who was in for 25 years to life, and he has reformed, he redeemed himself, he has reformed himself, and he's been out and he's been making a change both for himself and for others. And here we again have someone who I didn't see that in, I didn't have a lot of time for background, but I didn't see that in your background but I find that fantastic that you're so in, because of what you have seen and lived through, that you now come to help others be employed, that you are involved in the politics because you know what happens when politics fails.
Yeah.
People's lives are devastated. And I also need to mention, I can sympathize with being homeless. I've been homeless twice in my life. I'm an advocate for homeless individuals and to improve their lives. So we have a lot of simpatico. No wonder we found each other. We're talking here.
But I will say this,
yeah.
this is the bigger problem. This is one of the reasons why I'm running for office. While, yes, the average American will forgive, our societal structure does not.
Not at all.
I built 3 businesses from the ground up, having to cash capitalize all of them because I'm not eligible for a commercial loan. I can't have a gun in my home to protect myself.
Second Amendment, yeah.
I can't vote for myself and get representation. These are all things that once you've paid your debt should be restored. Now, there are some exceptions when you start looking at pedophiles, people that are convicted of capital crimes. I'm not saying should be a blanket kind of deal, but this is the crazy part. I've gone through my background, who I am, where I come from, but more importantly, my race right now is a name ID race. I'm running primarily to do 2026, and because in politics, just like in any other thing, politician is a box of cereal.
It's an ad.
But yeah,
it's an ad.
It's
like
you're a box of cereal. You really aren't that important. Okay? Now, mind you, ask most career politicians, they will tell you differently. They think they're that important.
Yeah.
But they're really not. You're a box of cereal, so you have to brand yourself. You have to build your ID. The difference is that a lot of folks will run for office and they will go and do that run, bring in contributions and all that kind of stuff, and knowing that they have no ability to win that second. I refuse to do that because I will not waste constituency dollars. I'm not going to do it in my race. I'm not going to do it when I'm in office.
No, and I understand that because it is a reality for first-time candidates. You have to reach the people, let them find out who you are, that you're actually existing and on the ticket or available to speak to. It is something that I've seen many first time, even when I ran for Congress, first time, I understand that process. So it does make a lot of sense, and it is politically savvy to go out the first race, not necessarily to win, but maybe to push an agenda, an issue, and to let the public know that you exist. So I can understand that. But let me ask, because some people say, but PT, you're going out, doing the first time, how do we know you're going to come back? The number one thing, 80% of people who run the first time never run for another elected office and, in fact, never be involved in politics again.
That's because they went in unprepared. Now, one of the side benefits of my colorful history is that I've had to prepare more than most. So for the last 6 years, I have been being mentored by a former congressman that served 12 years. He was part of the Contract with America under Newt Gingrich, former Congressman Chris Cannon. And, a little bit of a shout out to him. He passed away this last month. A great man, and he is sorely missed by his family, by his friends, by the plethora of candidates running for offices that have either gotten in or have run for offices that this man has taken his time to mentor. He's phenomenal, and people like that don't exist anymore. You want a picture of a citizen representative, not a politician? That was Mr. Chris Cannon.
High praise. High praise to them.
Now, we were discussing what we did, and we're going to dispel a myth that's been out there today.
There's a few.
Okay. But this one happens to be fact. Last election cycle, and me and Michael talked about this. There was a bunch of candidates that came together here in Las Vegas and got together for a private conference. We have met one-on-one, no campaign staff. They had to pay their own way to get here. Okay? Yes, we did that. I'm the one that put it together. Yeah, the weird guy that did time in prison. Got all of these candidates running for office. We got quite a few of them elected last cycle, and we're poised to get more elected this cycle.
Now, let me mention to the audience, that is something that in the political circles we had heard of, some kind of event like that, but no one could confirm it. No one would actually say, yeah, I know this is it. And possibly because, there were no plane tickets, there were no staff members, there were no extra spending that almost always happens when a candidate or elected official goes somewhere. So you kind of hid it from us.
I did hide it. Politics is messy.
Yes, very.
Okay? And so if you're going to make a big move, don't let them see you coming until you're ready. And we have spent the last cycle and a half working together, iron sharpening iron. We've got John Briscoe running in California 42. This man has literally gone after school boards for decades. He was a school superintendent as a Republican in California for like 15 years. Unheard of, but kept getting elected in a D+22 district. Impressive. Now, mind you, he teaches everybody else how to address their school boards. I'm the data analytics guy. I'm the numbers and math guy. I help all of our group with their data models and where do they go, how do they do it. We have others that are strategic and like, for example, Rhonda Kennedy, who ran for Senate, U.S. Senate, right here in this state, is one of those. Okay. Now, mind you, hers was more of like my kind of a run. All right, and she's
introduction to the public.
Introduction because she moved from California, introducing herself for the next run. Okay, and that's exactly. But she was up front with everybody and says it. Just
So that's kind of critical. Do we know this?
Yes.
Are you telling us this?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that transparency has to be there. That's something that the American public is desperate for. Transparency from those that wish to represent them. Okay, but she is great at law, constitutional law specific. She has got us all up to speed on how the Supreme Court's working, how all the court systems are going. Make sure that we have the knowledge base. And then I've taken myself to school on the rules of the House, thanks to former Congressman Chris Camp. Did you know that we can actually eliminate, without the Senate, any redundant agency in the federal government?
Yes.
Home enrollment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, most people don't even know it exists.
I know of it. I haven't read it recently, but yes, I have read it.
Well, every time the Democrats get control, they take it out. Every time the Republicans get in, they put it back in and then never use it. Mayorkas right now could be sitting on the sidelines getting $1 a year.
Which would be beautiful. But see, now you brought up something that I think is absolutely essential. Not just that there is transparency. We know that many of the individuals in your group are introducing themselves for the first one, and then the second one is where they're really focusing on getting that election.
Actually, I want to qualify that because a lot of them have already done their first one last cycle.
Okay.
Some of them are poised to get in now.
So that last cycle means last midterm?
Midterm.
Okay.
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, exactly. So we got about 20 or plus that could really make it over the threshold, and I'm going to highlight a couple of them. Okay, I'm going to hit California mostly because I think California is poised, much like when Youngkin got elected. I was out there helping Chuck Smith, who was running for Secretary of State. And everybody thought I was crazy, but the numbers said that there was a shift getting ready to happen. And so I was out there, and then, of course, then I wasn't crazy. But, of course, everybody says, oh, yeah, I thought that too in hindsight. Yeah, whatever.
Who put it out there first?
Yeah, exactly, but we've got Chris Bish that's running in California. Okay, we got John Briscoe who's running in California, Melissa Toomey who's running in California. All of them have a decent shot. The best two, though, are Chris Bish and John Briscoe. Right after FreedomFest, I'm going out to California 42. I'm going to be boots on the ground for almost a week, helping him, do the full walkthrough of his district. Where do you get to go? Unify the plan. Turn him into, the Tony Tiger of Frosted Flakes for his district.
Okay.
Make him the cereal of choice.
Right.
Okay.
I get the analogy there. Yeah.
All right. But these are all people willing to be the box of cereal. They don't need the ego. They're running for purpose and for cause. See,
now that brings up the question. We've made the analogy that politicians they're a commodity. Essentially. Many of them are.
Yeah.
Without naming anyone specifically, AOC. But other than, the Democratic Socialists of America, other than those few individuals, you're talking about the brand so people can recognize it. Let's go with the idea that all 20 people win their races. In fact, let's say your race, which I know is a write-in right now, according to Wikipedia, you win.
Yeah.
Everyone wins. So it's not going to happen. Let's say all 21 get in. You have individuals that got in 2022. They get reelected as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a number. Say there's 30 of you, which is a critical number. That's a huge number in Congress. That is a caucus in and of itself. What are you going to be focused on doing for the public?
Okay, a couple of key things. I am utterly with Chip Roy on this. First order of operations, single subject bills. Okay, these omnibus spending that you and I, as average citizens, and the average person walking around this conference, has zero clue how to read.
Wait a minute.
Must
You
stop.
mean you don't like Obamacare, which is 2,000 pages long? You didn't enjoy being able to beat people upon the head with chapters of it alone?
I'm running for office. It's my responsibility to read every bill that comes across the congressman I'm challenging.
Yes,
Desk.
absolutely.
Okay, I'm tired of reading stacks like this. I'm over it. Okay, single subject bills.
Okay.
All right. Then we've got to get some of the federal agencies under control. Okay. I'm hoping that Trump gets in and does what he should have done the first time, which is take out the top three heads of every single alphabet soup agency in wholesale.
Okay.
All right. Basically, to cut the heads off all the snakes and get people in there that can reform those agencies, or in some cases, like the Department of Education, dismantle them entirely.
Okay. So, dismantle the Department of Education. That's a big thing. You
Yeah.
can't gloss past that, which I'm not against. So that's about $127 billion a year. Has massive. Are you just taking it out? Is that a phase out? And what replaces it?
Well, and this is where some of this comes into play, that we've got to look at how things are currently structured. And, the recent Supreme Court rulings that took away and neutered the EPA and organizations like that, that is a fabulous ruling, and we need to codify that in how we pass laws going forward, so that we don't have unelected bureaucrats writing de facto law, which is what really has been happening and occurring.
Like ATF, the pistol brace,
Yeah.
that was one of the bigger rulings, or with the FTC, when they tried to remove the non-disclosure agreements. Congress never said that. They just decided to do it one day. And so you're saying we're going to codify
Yeah.
laws going forward, saying you can never just make up something Congress hasn't agreed.
Here's
Okay.
a little bit of inside baseball. Okay, this is from years of mentorship at the feet of someone I admire, Chris Cannon, I talked about. The way bills get written. Do you think your congressman or senator writes that bill?
I know they don't, because
Okay.
I've written one, and I know the process. It's not like that.
The bills are written by two organizations, primarily. K Street, the lobbyists. Wonder how that's going to turn out. Or the staffers that literally float around from Democrat to Republican on whoever will take them in their office every two or 6 years, depending on which side of the aisle or the upper or lower
House or
chamber
Senate.
you're on. I mean, if you're upper or lower chamber. So these people all bounce around. All right, these are the people writing the bills. They're bureaucrats that are protecting their bureaucrat buddies throughout the food chain.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? So they write these laws and these bills in such a way that the gray zones are so wide that about anything can be written from a general subject.
True, and that is one of the big problems. Laws are too corruptible. They're too prone to being corrupted and to be reinterpreted and reimagined. I hate those terms all the time. But the counter argument, and I know this counter argument will come up, is, well, yeah, AOC didn't do that. She spent a weekend getting high with her staff, and then she came up with the Green New Deal. There's got to be a middle ground there, or am I misunderstanding?
No, AOC did not write that bill. Her staff did not write that bill. It was written by the Green Lobby on K Street. Make no mistake, that's who wrote that bill.
Okay.
The climate cult wrote that bill.
Cal Parks and all.
Yeah, she'll tell you whatever story you want,
Okay.
and that is her nature. And I cannot wait for my girl Chris Bish to get in Congress. And one of the other things we want to get back in place is open debate on the House floor.
Okay.
I want Chris Bish on this side and AOC on this side, and just watch the fireworks.
That would be interesting. So,
Expose the insanity.
you know, we're talking now, and I know we were talking earlier throughout the convention, having a great conversation.
Yeah.
But we were talking, and I noticed that we didn't get into some of these details, but I'm hearing you want to go back in terms of the operations of government, maybe 34 years. Because what we're talking about, this is maybe because of your mentor. This is what I'm old enough to know. 30, 40 years ago, this basically was the way Congress operated. It was still somewhat dysfunctional, but it was way better than we are today. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, it's not really going back. It's actually just going. The rules of the House change very little.
Yeah.
The rules of the House from the early 1800s are still pretty much the same rules of the House now with minor augmentations. Okay? I'm just saying you actually use the rules of the House as they were written because it created for good, small governance.
Yes.
Instead of this omnibus craziness where they keep writing in taglines on the rules of the House and on the rules of the Senate.
The amendments,
Yeah.
which I always tell people, you got to read the amendments. Poison pill all the time.
Well, it's like any other contract. That is lawmakers' version of small print.
Yes.
Three-point font
Yeah.
that you lose your house, your car, your wife, and your kids.
And they
Okay?
call it a red flag, and it's for your safety. Of course, yes.
Okay, so the basic rules of the House are what really matters. And if we go back to the rules of the House, then all of a sudden, trust starts getting restored from the public because they start seeing consistency. Oh, that's a rule. They followed the rule. Oh, okay. Now I get what they're doing. Now we're at single subject bills. Oh, okay. So that guy was way out of control and didn't control the border. Okay, appropriations, and now Myers got a $1 salary. All these things start falling in place, and trust in the American people's trust gets restored. But we need to stop electing career politicians that are controlled by either party, causes, or all these outside organizations on K Street in the lobbies, or corporations. They start going for that neighbor that you go, that guy's pretty smart. Or you know what, she's pretty savvy. Let's go ahead and get her in there, or get him in there. I
Well, they
trust
had that
them.
they had that great idea.
Yeah, I trust that person. That's how our government used to be run. That trust is gone.
Largely, yes, it has. And I like that you put a lot of thought behind this. And the individuals you're working with, you're saying, have worked together on the same plan, the same process. Now, we have to address, because there's a lot of fear out there. And,
There is.
And people shouldn't be afraid. They should want clarification.
Yeah.
If you're afraid, ask why. Don't just be afraid. Find out.
Correct.
Because that's the answer to fear. Knowledge kills fear. There are people who are going to be afraid and say, well, there's 30 of you. Are you trying to be like January 6th? Are you trying to... And I'm going to the extreme this week.
Yeah, yeah.
This is, the...
You notice I didn't flinch.
Yeah. It's the BLM idea.
Yeah.
It's the Antifa idea, which is also part of the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, and others.
Yeah.
But they believe this. And they have other Americans that believe it. Sometimes it even appears on CNN or MSNBC, this idea that, oh my God, you're MAGA, you believe in making America great, a fundamentally positive statement. That means you must be 1930s Germany and you're white. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you would, oh my God, we're in trouble now. And they're going to say, well, that's
hold on
what
a
you do.
second. I've got too many friends like Rhonda Kennedy around here that technically gave me the invite to the cookout.
No,
so don't even go there with me.
I get it. I get it, but they also tell me that
But we
I'm
need-
also
no, but we
I'm
need-
a 1930s German.
But we
according
need to
to-
laugh at that stuff and,
Yeah.
and take some of those lines like I just did there
Yeah.
and blow it up. And don't let them use our minor deviations to create massive social divides. Okay? I grew up dirt poor, and and so my elementary school and most of my middle school, I was the minority. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
No. Well, I believe in merit anyway.
Yeah.
Minority is a state of mind.
Yeah.
There was only, I can literally say, one time in my life that I've actually felt like a minority. Yeah, I was standing in front of the Kremlin in Moscow in '91. A little bit different situation.
Yeah.
But, that's like if you want to go to, I don't know, Kenya. Might feel a little different than New York City.
I would go West Africa because I prefer the food better.
Okay. Well,
Because, the food is good.
it is good. Okay, so we've gotten a little bit of your background. We've gotten
Yeah.
some of your philosophy,
Yeah.
some of your ideology. You even slipped in a couple of the bills and directions you want to go in,
Yeah.
as well as telling us a bit about your friends in the organization. And I find that all very important. Let's stop here. And I know we were talking about, I know you've been paying attention to international politics. You've been talking about politics here in the United States, domestically, on a couple of different issues. What we haven't talked about is one of the things that I think everyone really cares about. Money. Money in their pocket, money for their bills, jobs. You are a business owner.
Yes.
And you've created businesses that you've sold off, commercial cooking equipment and such.
Commercial kitchen specialist. Yes.
Specialists.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember
It was one of my babies. I'm going to let you slide on that.
No, I'm starting to remember it. I almost had it right. Given that, we have to be honest with the American people. If we start down this path, if you're successful, say in 2024, 2026, and we start moving, we got the people in place, does that mean that tomorrow, because there are people who believe Donald Trump, 2025, he walks in, the recession in the United States ends that day. That's not real.
It's not rational.
That's not realistic, but people have that idea. So I'm asking you, if we can start going down the path you're talking about, because there are some others similarly speaking to me about that, when can the average American start to see that result?
Okay, we must be realistic. First
Yeah.
off, let's go ahead and let's address the monsters in the room, the progressives.
Yes.
They started destroying us in 1914.
Yes.
Okay, and it's been a steady slide downhill since then. This is not going to be the walk in, there's balloons, parade, party, cake, and everything's hunky-dory. No, we have to fight back. We have to draw a line and say, here and no further, and then push that line back on those that have been steadily degrading our moral values. You know, one of my biggest things is that if we reset the moral compass of the country, all these things will come into place. But like anything else, it's going to take time. We're going to need at least a year and a half to start getting effective bills in place. Get the single bill vote. We're going to have to go in there, and in some cases with 30 of us, we can bulldog a little bit.
Definitely.
And then bring in Freedom Caucus and stuff like that, and
Chip
bulldog a
Roy's
bit.
done some similar
Yes,
things,
yes.
holding back some bills
Yes.
before he gets, so he can have conversations.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know,
So it's not unusual. You're not
No.
saying something crazy.
No, we're not going to be anything wild here. But the difference, herein lies the difference. What happens when most people get to D.C. that get elected? They sell out.
Yes.
This is the difference with our group. And this is a steadfast rule. I may have started this, but I'm subject to this same rule. If I sell out, it is the rest of their job, everyone else's job, to raise the money and put me out of office.
So unlike
Accountability.
unlike AOC going to bat for Jamal Bowman after he committed what Democrats define as insurrection by pulling the fire alarm and stopping Congress. So instead of having your people jump behind you like AOC did with Jamal Bowman and Bernie Sanders with Jamal Bowman, they're going to be on the opposite side saying, no, you got to
We're
go.
going to go to them first and go, you need to rein back in. You know the result here. Accountability. What does the American public want? I mean, what do you guys want? Accountability. You want elected officials that are accountable for their actions, accountable for their work, and actually follow through.
Yes.
If we don't do that with each other, how can we do that for the American people? Okay? So it's applying a standard. All right? And I get this question a lot. And because, we cover the whole, I do prison ministry, and I went back in for years doing that kind of thing. So I get this one a lot. All right? So I want to cover this one, because a lot of people are afraid when these ones are Christians and right-wing. Okay. Yeah. He's going to take that into the halls of Congress.
I get some of those people watching.
Yeah,
sometimes. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a clear distinction, is that, the church by all means should influence the state. The state can't influence the church. I have to be part of the federal government. Therefore, I can't cross that line. But it doesn't mean that the moral code that informs me, I leave at the door. Right is right, wrong is wrong. When we apply that as a group, accountability becomes easy.
So let me reword that maybe for some people who aren't as familiar with some of the ideas.
Yeah.
Let me give them an example. So, America is a Judeo-Christian nation. That means that we believe in, we accept morally, murder is wrong. That's a Judeo-Christian value. It's a firm principle.
Yeah.
It's also part of the bedrock of America. Now, saying that murder is wrong isn't saying, hey, you have to convert to being a Christian. But it is a tenet in Christianity. So
Correct.
in the same, are you saying the same thing that?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying, that we're all informed, every one of us, by whatever moral code orders our life.
Right.
Okay? I mean, as human beings, we have our own innate, this is right, this is wrong. But those things are instilled either by parents, by faith, by this, by education. Whatever informed that compass that you have, you don't leave that at the door when you walk in to represent other people. There's a real simple principle that I've kind of pushed onto the whole group here, is that we, as elected people, we need to first represent our district, our state, and then our nation, in that order.
Well, that is the tenet of American politics. It starts at the individual
Yeah.
and then goes up the chain.
But what happens when most of these people get to D.C., it becomes about the nation because they want to look important.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair statement. Yeah.
But if you keep it about your people, the ones that went in and went up and pulled the lever for you, that centers your focus. And then everything else falls easier into place. It's about doing the pre-work that most people don't do, just like with me getting a mentor before I even ran for Congress. That way, when I walk in the door, thanks to former Congressman Cannon, I know how to set my office up. I know what to avoid. I know on the staff pool what not to do, who to take, who not to take. It's all those little things that most people don't think about. They think, oh, I got elected, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Okay? There's none of that with our group. We are ready to walk in there, and within 3 months, maybe 4,
Which is pretty fast.
get our feet under us because we are already prepared, and we have been preparing, and be effective.
See, that's rare. And you'd be amazed how many times I talk to a candidate and they, oh, I'm going to go into Congress. Fantastic. Which committee are you going to be in? What? I didn't know that he had. By the way, is there a committee you would prefer?
I actually want judiciary, but mostly because I want to be on the subcommittee for Bureau of Prisons. I have a unique perspective there, both on the justice side and on the prison side, as someone that's been inside of the state prison. I understand, how to take people from prison to purpose.
That's an important process.
Okay, reducing recidivism.
Purpose will do that.
Yeah, purpose will do that.
reduces-
And I'll do a little segue here because this is just a heartfelt one that I like telling this story. Because what really got me into doing politics in the first place was I was going back and doing prison ministry with Kairos Prison Ministries, and I got asked by the Department of Justice to come to Washington, D.C. and speak at a violent offender reentry initiative that George W. Bush put together.
Yes.
Okay, so I spoke at this conference, and then, but Reggie Wilkinson, the director of the Ohio Department of Prisons, was also speaking there. And apparently he had heard me speak at one of the breakouts or something like that, and he brought it up, and he said basically, we cannot do much. Talking about the staff of the prison, we can't do much. We can educate people, we can do this, we can do that, but unless something changes here, nothing is permanent.
Right.
So we need to get heart-based changes happening, but for that we've got to change. We've got to get colleges back in. Wisdom changes a lot.
Massive.
Yes, a ton. Okay? So education comes in. Open it up to faith. I don't care if it's Muslim, I don't care if it's Christian, I don't care if it's Judaism, I don't care if it's Shinto, Tao, Zen, whatever. It doesn't matter. Open it up to faith, especially on the federal prison level, which is almost impossible. Okay? Get the faith community in there. Start changing hearts and changing minds. Giving people a different direction to go into. And we'll watch the violence of our prison systems drastically drop. The prison I was released from, Marion Correctional in Ohio, Christine Money was the warden. Actually, my very first weekend as a volunteer, her husband was on the team with me. And the team leader threw us up front and said, what do these two have in common? And everybody's like, we're prisoners. We don't know what the heck you're talking about. He said, well, he was paroled by Christine Money, pointing at me, and then pointed at Kent, her husband, and goes, he never will be.
I like that.
Okay, but we should have that kind of joy going into these things. And so I look at it and I go, we know what our constitutional roles have to be, but that doesn't negate opening the doors and allowing these things in. It's not a violation of the Constitution, as long as we leave it as an open forum.
We're not excluding, and we're not doing diversity inclusion, which means we only promote one thing and everything else is excluded. Nor is
egos and idiocy? Is that what you're talking about?
Interesting. Now, I have two questions. Well, I know we've been covering a lot of ground, a lot of different issues. Believe it or not, folks, this is actually longer than we actually have spoken in the entire conference. So it sounds like we've been talking for a while. It's like, no, this is all off the cuff. But I have two questions. Before I ask the last two questions, one, how do people find out more about you? How do they find out more about your association, your group of individuals?
Okay, so I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say, look out for the words clawback candidates.
Clawback.
Back says CLAWBACK candidates.
Gotcha.
Okay, we are kind of taking the veil off now. We've done our organization, we've done all of our prep work, we're all ready to set and rock and roll, and now we're going to go and start wreaking havoc on behalf of our constituents.
Okay.
Okay. So there's that part. Now, as far as me, don't worry about me. I don't need nobody's money. I don't need anything else. If you got friends in Scottsdale, Arizona, Paradise Valley, Anthem, Carefree, Fountain Hills, although that is my Republican primary's kind of stronghold, sure, let them know who I am. Okay. Don't worry about any of the votes or anything like that. I will be running in 26, and I give my word on that. Okay. This is a matter of right now this cycle helping all the others get over the hump. Those folks like me, I know I had to take a backseat this cycle. Do a little name ID, but we have so many other people to get over the line where the work was needed heavier.
Gotcha.
And if we're not willing, like someone like me, to take a step back to instead of one individual getting in and letting my ego dictate that, and instead getting those 20 in, is that not wise?
No, especially when you want an agenda, and you need votes for that agenda. You need friends for that agenda. I mean, that is politics.
Yes.
No one person gets everything.
But,
you need friends.
So, I'll make sure you got links and everything. You can post it on up.
Absolutely.
And then if anyone wants to reach out, has a question, how many viewers do you usually get?
Depends on the topic and depends on whether it's short or not. It could be tens of thousands. It could be 50.
Okay.
Literally, YouTube does not like me.
Hey, no, that just makes you my friend. Social media shuts me down. They debanked me. I mean, they've done everything they could to shut me up. And I smile and I go, ooh, I must be going the right way. Okay, so people get a chance to reach out to me. My name will definitely be out there, especially as this campaign cycle rolls out and we start dropping bombs all over the country politically.
Okay, and I'm going to stay in touch with you so that even if people don't notice, I'll definitely follow up.
Oh, yeah, and you'll have some fun. People are going to go, oh, wow.
And I'm happy to do interviews with anybody in that crew.
Yeah.
So that's part of my two last questions. My last one is, obviously, I want to be able to follow up. Even though we've done now about almost 40 minutes, it flies fast. Mm-hmm. But I think there's more. And I know that we haven't even touched overseas in terms of military, in terms of funding, in terms of NATO and what's happening there with Ukraine, China. We're talking about India and Indo-Asia, which no one else is talking about. We were having a great conversation about it. And I think this would be advantageous for the American people. So I do want to get back in touch with you.
I will do. You want me to hop on once a week for a half hour? I'll do it. I'm good. You pick the subject matter, and I'm not Joe Biden. I don't want the questions in advance.
That's okay, because you wouldn't get them, but that's good. I'm not the New York Times, nor am I George Stephanopoulos. I don't get that out. Earl Ingram, that was the guy who did it too. Oh, the girl did. You know, the woman who did that and approved the 4 questions.
No.
Fired.
Oh, really?
No That's not journalistic. Do not give the. She's fired. She deserved it.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her, but she knew better. So my final question, which I always like to end every interview with. We've talked a lot. We've gotten a lot of information for the public to absorb. Watch the video over again. Watch it Larry Sharp. Watch it on my channel. Watch it 3 or 4 times. Show it to your friends. Besides doing that, is there anything that you believe is absolutely important to end this with that we haven't touched on that you want to share with the public?
Okay. So it is absolutely critical that we secure our election. Okay. I have a nonprofit, American Candidate Affairs. Okay. We're getting ready to launch a project, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on it. But let's just put it this way. What if we could get those that are voting illegally to self-identify? In the debate between the Republicans and the Democrats, is it happening?
Of course it's happening.
Well, but we know the public debate. CNN, MSNBC says it's not occurring. Republicans, Fox, whatever, says it is. All right? So this is constant debate, leaves the American public in the middle going, who's lying to me? Let's settle it. Let's get them to self-identify. We've developed a method to do that, and we're going to beta that in the next few weeks. And then if the beta proves out, we're going to drop it nationally, and then we're going to force it up to the Supreme Court to clean the voter rolls.
I want to know more about that. I want to know more about that.
Absolutely. Now, if anybody,
want
I will say this, if anybody wants to contribute to that effort, because it's going to cost us on the beta side roughly about $50,000. Because I've owned a marketing company, I do things a lot cheaper. So I can roll out in 6 districts like we're going to do. No big deal for low dollar. Okay? The national cost is about 6.5.
It's nothing for the national.
Well, for a national. But we have a method to do it that's going to keep it low cost and get the evidence we need to conclusively prove either for or against. Okay. And we're not taking a position on if it is occurring or not. We're taking the position of we want to know the truth.
Okay. So it's data, pure data.
Pure data.
Here's the data.
Give us fact or give us nothing.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. So if anyone wants to contribute to that, then I'll provide you with an email that, if anybody messages in and says, I want to help.
Okay.
Then I'll give you an email that they can send that to that's specific to that project.
Okay.
And then anyone that does decide to invest in that, they'll get the full download of what we're doing.
Okay. And people, with anything there you put money into, whether it's my Patreon or anything, always do your homework.
Yes.
Make sure it's something that you want to put the money in and that you can afford it. That's just a word of caution.
And it is 501c3, so it is tax deductible.
So it is a tax. Oh, well, that's nice. Taxable. That sounds. Well, we'll talk more about that afterwards. Folks, I have been talking to Paul T. Burton, otherwise known as P.T. Burton, and I think we'll see more of him somewhere in the future. I enjoyed it a lot. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us as we're here at FreedomFest. Day number 2. We have much more coming down the line. We're going to be talking with Maj Toure. We're going to be talking with a lot of people, and I hope you will all be well. Thank you for your time.